Hi, welcome to Wayside Publishing's Professional Learning Series. I'm Michelle Olah, Director of Professional Learning at Wayside Publishing, and today we're diving into a topic that's top of mind for AP World Language teachers right now, the changes coming to the AP World Languages exams. And today I'm going to be joined by Ed Weiss, an AP French consultant to the College Board, who works directly with the people shaping these exams. Together, we're going to break down what's new, what's staying the same, and most importantly, what you as an AP teacher need to know and do right now. So whether you teach French, Italian, German, or Spanish, this conversation is for you. Let's go ahead and get started. Well, hello. So, Ed, I'm so excited to talk with you today. And I think let's go ahead and get started with just a little bit about you. So how long have you been working with the College Board, and what kind of drew you to this kind of consultancy work?
Well, honestly, it started with me about 30 years ago when I was selected as a College Board AP reader. In other words, you would travel to where the AP reading was and you would grade the 21,000 French tests in 7 days. And it was at first an overwhelming task and I was intimidated, but as the years went by I grew to really enjoy the process because you're dealing with, by the way, the exam is graded by high school and college people. It's almost a 50-50 split. Sometimes it's 60-40 college to high school, but you meet people from all over the French-speaking world in my case. It became something I really enjoyed doing. And then as I grew and I became a table leader, a little bit more responsible, I was more on the administrative side. And then when the exam changed the last time, now we've had this exam for 14 years.
Wow.
So it started in 2012. So in 2011 at the reading, I was elevated to one of the 4 exam leaders. And our responsibility was to craft and shape and get the scoring lines together for the current exam. So I've got a lot of experience in working with a test, building a test. So in addition to being at the reading, I've done a lot of different jobs for College Board. My most visible job is being a leader at the APSIs. I have done approximately 80 APSIs.
Wow.
20 plus years, and I think the number is I've presented in front of nearly 1,000 French teachers, which is, and from all over the USA, but all over the world. I think I've got like 10 different countries of people that I presented to, and I've visited 15 states, and I've worked with people from practically every state in the U.S. So for me, it's been enriching to meet those people and work with and help those people.
Yeah, I know so many people that have done the college, graded for the College Board. And me not having ever done that, I was always like, wow, so you're just going and grading? And they're like, oh no, it's like summer camp. It's like you meet all of these amazing people. You have so many great experiences. You learn so much. I've heard so many great things about that, even just that process of that summer grading experience. And so you get to being involved with it for so many years in such a great level must be quite.
Yeah, it was great, and I got to sort of build my confidence with
Yeah,
AP, and then by presenting in front of all these people constantly, as it does on the administrative side, I kind of got to be known and got very confident as a presenter, and I really
that's awesome.
found a passion in presenting. Now, behind the scenes, I also do other things for College Board. I do development of different projects, and the most relevant example is last summer, where I worked on the committee that worked with the project-based piece of this exam, which is what we really want to talk about a lot today.
Yeah.
So we were on the committee, and I saw now that it's public, the CED is published, and everyone has access to the project manual, which takes you day by day of what you should be doing with your students with this project-based piece. And our team developed all of the ancillary materials that are not available yet but they will be on AP Classroom. And these materials, these documents, will help and guide you. Some are for your students, some are for the teacher. And they're going to help both of you build towards AP success.
I love that. So you're here to help teachers both understand the big picture, but also I think it's reassuring for them to hear that all of those materials that you created are coming, that they have that support that's coming soon. So I think that's going to be a message that teachers are going to appreciate hearing today as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you one last thing that I did work on, and everyone's going to be seeing it. You've probably all seen it. Is the AP Classroom. And College Board has built that up a year by year, and it gets a little bigger and better every year. And there's 4 major parts to the language AP Classroom, and the question bank is a big piece of it. I was sort of shepherding that effort and leading that with a couple of great colleagues, and we took 871 questions from former exams and categorized them in 10 different ways. So I saw a lot of AP questions.
I was going to say, yeah, you've seen more than the average person for sure.
So, I've had experience about every level on AP, so that has become a true passion for me.
I love it. That's great, and that's why we wanted to be to be here to help explain and to kind of give some clarity to the big picture of what is coming. You already mentioned it with the new AP exams for world languages. So let's kind of talk about that a little bit. So I think some of the questions that people probably have, maybe the first thing we could talk about is what is staying the same?
All right. So I think people are, when a new exam comes around, that doesn't come around very often. This has been 14 years. And I remember when we were at the AP reading, the year they said they were changing the exam. And the exam used to be called AP French Language or AP Spanish Language. Mm-hmm. And then they added those 2 magic words, AP Spanish Language and Culture. Well, we were all in a room, all 163 of us who were readers, and we heard about the change. And when we heard the word culture, there was general panic in the room. And we started writing on a whiteboard all the different things like the Eiffel Tower, how tall was it? Marie Antoinette, what was her birthday? The dates of the French Revolution. And then the chief reader came in, and she saw what was going on. And she said, okay, attention. And she said 3 words to us. And those 3 words in French were pas de panique. Don't
Which
panic.
we could guess, right?
And then she explained to us what the changes were. We said, oh, okay, we don't have to know the exacts. It just means that the test is going to be based on authentic cultural materials. And I said, that's good. So, I want the same message here. Even though this exam is changing somewhat, it's 2/3 of it will be the same, basically. As you're going to see, and as the slides come up later, you're going to see the exam is 2/3 the same, 1/3 different. And the 1/3 different part, once you see it, once you see how it works, you're going to find out that it really is you might like it as much or better than the previous exam.
Yeah, change is always hard, but oftentimes once we actually look at it and become comfortable, feel more familiar with it, we're like, oh, this is it. This was done for a reason, right? This was a good thing. I love that. I think that's a great message because you're right. With change and anything new comes that sense of anxiety. And as you said, for 14 years, that's a lot of teachers, probably AP teachers that have never taught it any differently than the way they're teaching it now, right? And so that can be a little bit nerve-wracking for people, right? So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and put some of the slides up, and I want you to kind of walk us through what is the same and what is different. And again, this is not to be a workshop. We're not going super in depth, right, Ed? It's kind of just to give a little overview, give everybody a little comfort. Ed's going to tell you about some opportunities that are coming up to learn more and deeper, and I will tell you some things at the end as well. But we just want to make sure that we have everybody feeling comfortable and on the right page.
Right.
All right.
And
Here you
before I
go.
get into the specifics here, there's one word, and it's a word that it's readily visible on the public college board. If you go to AP French Central or AP Spanish Central and you click on the new exam, it'll tell you what basically is going on. And there's one word that pops out time and time again, and that word is streamlined. And I want to talk about that first because this exam has been streamlined in several different ways. Okay, the first one of well, I'll talk about them as I get to the slides, but basically by streamlining, the test is almost an hour shorter. That's a big factor. I'm sure if you have seen your students after they've taken the test, because you can't be anywhere near them during the test, but they'll stop by after the test, and you see them after 3 to 3.5 hours of going through that test. It was really long, and oftentimes, the language exams were in the afternoon, and sometimes students had something to do in the morning and even took an AP test possibly in the morning. It's a lot. So the exam has been shortened, which is really a plus. It's very much, as you'll see in each part of it, it's been streamlined, and other aspects of it have been streamlined. And the big change, the one of the most massive changes, is that the exam this year and from all years going forward will be digital. Now, I know when I've done my AP Summer Institutes, I would spend a good bit of time with teachers saying, how are you doing the speaking part of the exam? And everybody had a different story. They would have to say, okay, the kids would take the written part of the test in one room, and then we go to, in most cases, a computer lab, because very few schools have a language lab. They would take them to a computer lab, and they'd have to make sure that the right software was on that computer. And then they would have to have someone in the tech department upload the files to College Board. It was a bit clunky, and there were a lot of misadventures in having this system where you'd have to have the recordings done somewhere else besides the room where they were taking the test. Now the entire test is taken digitally, and it's on a platform called Blue Book. And the students just have they recommend a kind of little inexpensive headsets with a microphone that each student will have, and all the information will come right into their headsets. They won't be playing a boombox somewhere, listening together. They'll hear exactly what's going on, and when it's time for them to speak, which is, you will see when we have the exam layout, they're going to be speaking right away. They'll be speaking right into the microphone, and they'll hear clearly the prompts that are given. And I think that this is a major, major upgrade for us because it simplifies the test-taking process.
Yeah, which is stressful enough as it is, right?
Yeah, and going to a different room and working on a computer maybe you've never seen before or worked on, I think that will be a major plus.
That's awesome.
All right, so some of the things that are a little bit different. Now, when we talk about putting an AP course together, we have been working with 6 different themes over the last 14 years. As you can see, that if you look at the titles of these themes, most of them are very recognizable, with the exception of the first one. Families and communities. Art and creativity used to be just called aesthetics. Science and technology, same. Contemporary life, the same. Global challenges is now global contexts. So a slight change there. The biggest change comes in that first top left box, language and culture, which really opens the door for a lot of creative things, customs and celebrations, which is what our students have been immersed in those kinds of activities since year one. Linguistics, the language has its sound all over the world. French sounds different all over the world, from Senegal to Quebec to Tahiti. And again, the French in the world, we want to make the students very much aware of all the different places where our language, whatever it is being spoken. So the personal and private public identity is gone, because there were some topics there that were, I guess, a little uncomfortable for some people, and they've swapped that out for this different new language and culture theme. So these are the 6 themes we've got going now, and those subtopics or recommended contexts under them. And remember, you're not limited to just that list under the main thing. You are certainly able to choose, and the students are able to choose, work with other topics besides just that bulleted list. So those are our 6 themes. Then, so a slight tweaking to those. Another streamline piece. We used to have a landscape document that had 8 different skills upon which the AP courses were built. It was a pretty large document, and the skills were broken down into the 3 different modes, but there were 4 interpretives and 2 presentationals and 2 interpersonals. What they've done now is taken those 8 skills and narrowed them down to 3 skill categories, which makes things much more You've only got these 3. The first is interpretive, because there's quite a bit of interpretive, as we know that deals with our multiple choice, and as you're going to see, it's still half the examination. The skill category 2 is the interpersonal and presentational communication part, and that obviously calls into effect the parts where the students are going to be speaking, which they do right away in this new test, and writing. They're still going to write that argumentative essay. The last skill category is cultural understanding, and the way they're going to demonstrate cultural understanding, one of the main ways is certainly via this project, because when you finally get to see the project in its entirety, you'll see that what College Board wants is to have an investigation of a certain topic, and that investigation is going to really depend on the cultural understanding that goes with this project. So here is and you'll see underneath these skill categories all of the learning objectives, and this is just one page of it. There are, in your CED, you'll find the categories, and you'll see that all the different precise learning objectives we have under the 3 different skill categories. But boy, 3 categories versus 8, that's streamlining. All right, the test itself. The organization of the test is different. And the first major difference is when you look at this graphic, you can see that, well, for the last 14 years, we have started out with multiple choice. Now it's been flipped around. The multiple choice comes at the very end. And we start out with the free response questions. And there's a project presentation, which I'll talk more about. It's a 3-minute presentation on a topic that they've been working on from January, February, March, April into May. So you'll find that, you're saying 3 minutes sounds like a long time. It used to be the cultural comparison was only 2 minutes. Well, here's the difference. The cultural comparison, the students had no idea what the topic was going to be for the cultural comparison. And we had to hope that the student had been exposed to that topic enough to effectively speak for 2 minutes about it and compare it from some place in the target language community to their own community. But it was a surprise. We didn't know it was sports. Was it art? Was it music? Was it food? Was it daily schedule? We never knew what the topic was going to be. So there was a lot of tension for the student. Now, on this question 1 project presentation, which is 20% of the exam, the students are going to speak for 3 minutes on a project they've been researching for 4 months. they should be able to speak for more than that and effectively. And not only will they be speaking on it, they will be speaking not just from memory. There's a document that they're going to be working on, the personalized project reference sheet. Some people call it the cheat sheet. It's really a sheet that the students prepare in advance with a bunch of ideas, sort of like an outline of all the major things that they want to present. And they do that document, and I'll show you a little bit more later about when, but they'll have it in front of them. So they'll have notes in front of them, and they're speaking on a project, on a topic that they have done tons of research on and should be able to do a great job in this 3-minute presentation. Question 2, they're going to be, instead of having the old conversation where we would speak to a fellow student about some topics that would happen at school, this time there'll be not 5 questions at 20 seconds each, but 4 questions lasting 40 seconds each. And the questions are about the project. Again, something they've worked on for 4 months. So they should really be able to answer any questions about that. And we will, in the summer, the College Board has told us, we will get an entire exam released. And we'll be able to see those 4 different kinds of questions they'll be asked. But having had a look at them, they're natural questions that would go along. They're general enough that the students can talk about that project and make some cultural observations and maybe talk about what was the most impactful thing that they saw. Those are the kinds of questions they'll be answering. So it should be something that they have a ton of confidence on. The last piece in the free response, the argumentative essay, and that has not changed. It is still the same. So I won't say anything more about that. If you're an experienced AP teacher, you know how that works. If not, it certainly will be explained to you. You can look in the CED and you'll see argumentative essays, and you, at least for the argumentative essays, you will see student samples from years past and what students were able to do. So that's the first half of the exam, 65 to 70 minutes. Then there's a break, and then we get to the multiple choice. And the multiple choice, you can see the number of questions. The first thing you see there on that first line is 55 questions. Well, if you remember from the current exam, we'll call it, there were 65 questions. So there's 5 questions fewer. And I'll explain to you how that breaks down. But the multiple choice has listening and reading. We used to have listening, reading, and a combination. There were a couple of combination questions where there was an entire article, a 2-minute and 20-second audio, and then there were maybe a total of 12, 13 questions they had to answer. Some of them on the audio, some of them on the text, and a couple of questions about both of them. That's gone. Now it's just pure listening, pure reading. So that's streamlining. Here's where another really good example of the streamlining is going to be in effect. I'll talk even more about that as we go on. So the free response section, there are, as we saw from the previous slide, there are 3 parts to it. The project presentation. It says the timing is 6 to 8 minutes. So how does that, what is going to happen in those 6 to 8 minutes? Well, the students are going to read the directions. That'll be part of it. But, my philosophy has always been, we're going to get a sample exam with directions. The students should know the directions, exactly what's going to happen before they go into test day. So they shouldn't even have to pay much attention to them. They should have read them in advance. They should know what's going to happen. They'll be given a couple of minutes. I believe it's going to be 2 minutes since we haven't seen the sample exam, but we've heard that it's going to be probably 2 minutes to look over their notes that they submitted to College Board and to say, okay, I've got my 4 major topics I'm going to talk about. I have an introduction. I know what I'm going to talk about. And they'll be able to sort of get things together. But again, they've already submitted. They've got access to this project presentation reference sheet. And then they will speak for 3 minutes And the idea is that they're going to, speak about a topic, a real life project that the College Board is going to give them. We'll get into the details of that more as we go on. The next piece, if you go back, the next piece is the project question and answer. And they'll be speaking again. And again, like the old exam where they were doing the conversation, they're going to hear a voice asking them 4 questions about the project. And they're pretty broad questions, actually. And they will be, there's 4 questions, and the students will speak for 40 seconds for each question. And that is worth 15%. So if you add up the 20% and the 15% for these 2 project-based test items, that's 35%, or approximately a third of the exam that is new. The rest of the exam they've done before. They've done the argumentative essay before. So I won't spend a lot of time on that. So this is a streamlined version of the FRQs. We had 4 separate jobs on the current exam. Now we've got 3 jobs. So this is the layout of the FRQ. It's shorter. It is more concise. It is certainly the first 2 things that they'll do is they'll be speaking. And the project is all about getting them ready to do effective speaking in the target language. So that's the very first thing they'll do. And having thought about it for a while, they've been preparing this 3-minute presentation for a while. So they're ready to go. They know what to do. They've practiced it time and time again. And they've got notes in front of them. So I think their confidence level should be high. And they should be able to certainly answer questions, fairly general questions, about that project. So that's the new look of the FRQ, the streamlined look. Now, the multiple choice. The multiple choice has been streamlined as well, as I told you a few minutes ago. There's no more combination questions where you've got a whole big article to read, a whole audio to listen to, and a set of 13 questions to answer, some on each. No, that's gone. Right now you see 2 different parts of the multiple choice: listening, reading. And this is exactly the way the exam is going to lay out. The first thing they're going to do is hear an audio, and there'll be a chart with it. Not a whole article, just an infographic of some kind. Then an audio report, then instructional guidance. They'll hear an interview, then they'll hear a presentation. And for each of these 5 different audio types, there's going to be 5 questions. And there's going to be, that's the thing. There'll be only 5 questions on each selection. I don't care if it's listening or reading. 5 questions only, which is also really good. And the nature of those questions is still the same as it's been before. They're going to have questions like, who is this? Who's the audience? What was the main point? Here's a particular vocabulary item that was used in line so-and-so. What do you think it means? The kinds of questions will be the same type of intuitive kind of questions that we've been working with. There'll just be 5 questions per set, though. Much more manageable, that's for sure. When it comes to the reading part, you see 4 different kinds of readings. You see an article with a little chart or infographic with it, a literary text, and a promotional material. Now, you see next to each of these 1 or 2. Bottom line, there's going to be 6 reading pieces on the exam. And it could vary year to year. Maybe there'll be 2 articles, 1 article and chart, 2 literary texts, or 1 promotional piece. They're going to add up to 6, and we never know which one's going to have 2 or 1. But these are the kinds of readings that you need to prepare your students to deal with. Bottom line, there'll be 6 reading pieces. And as I said before, there's going to be 5 questions per selection. So that's 6 times 5, 30 questions on reading. And up top, listening, you've got 5 listening pieces, 5 questions each, 25 questions. So we're dealing with 55 questions instead of 65. And each selection has only 5 questions to it. That's a big change. That's a big streamlining piece of the new exam. Now, I want to spend a lot of time, the rest of our time, talking about the newest piece, the project piece. Now, I can't take credit for this infographic. It was done by a College Board colleague of mine, a great Spanish teacher, Rebecca Mora. I always like to give credit where credit is due, and she came up with this great-looking infographic that explains what's going to happen during the process of the project. At the very top, what's going to happen first? The project prompt. The prompt will come to the students in January of the year. And so far as we know, every language is going to basically get the same prompt in their own language. So it comes in January. Along with the prompt, there will be 6 to 8 source materials. They call it a packet. That means there'll be 6 to 8 online references, online pieces. There'll be articles, there'll be charts, there'll be infographics, there'll be websites to look at. So College Board provides those. So you, the teacher, you don't have to do that. The College Board is going to do that for the students. Now, look, these 6 to 8 resources are not necessarily the end all for students. They're going to go out and find other sources on their own to help their research. But they'll certainly have a great start with the 6 to 8 resources that College Board provides in their language. Every language will have their own 6 to 8 resources. Also, when they get that prompt, they're going to be seeing 4 initial written reflection questions. Yeah, the big questions. We used to call them the essential questions when we were designing units. They're going to see 4 questions that will guide them. And if they can answer those 4 questions, they will have a pretty good handle on their particular topic from that year. What you can see is a little bit of a timeline here as those 4 arrows go across the page. And the first green arrow, that starts in January when they get the prompt. And I want to walk you through the different phases of this project. Now, the CED, the course and exam description, has already been released. And most of you probably have access to it already. The CED has the project manual and the scoring guidelines. It's about 40 pages of information. So you've already got that. That's out there, and it's in the public domain right now. So you can certainly take a look at that. But I'm going to explain it to you step by step. Phase 1. And phase 1 is the explore and understand. Now, they've just gotten their topic. They've got these 6 to 8 resources. So they're going to explore those 6 to 8 pieces that the College Board has given them. Then they're going to think about, okay, I'm going to do this project. That's just for argument's sake. Let's say the project is going to be something like you, the student, are going to be studying abroad for a semester. What steps would you need to take to do this effectively? And what would you need to learn about the culture? And they'll give you some ideas about what you might need to do. And then the premise will be maybe you'll be presenting this 3-minute oral presentation to a committee who will decide if you are a really good candidate for this position. So the students in phase 1, they are saying, okay, where in the, now again, I'll do it from the perspective of a French teacher. Where in the French world would I want to do this? Would I want to do it in Ivory Coast? Would I want to do it in Quebec? Would I want to do it in France? Would I want to do it in Switzerland? In the French-speaking world would I want this to take place? Our job as a teacher has always been to open up to them where our language is used. And I know that Italian and German have less of a choice than the French and the Spanish do, because we have a bigger language spread. We have, in the French world, we have 300 million people all over the globe that speak our language. But you want to encourage the students to, be familiar with all the places where the language, target language is spoken, and they can select whatever country they pick. The teachers don't pick it for them. The students select the country they want to investigate. So they've done some research. They've looked into it. They've looked into those resources after in this first week. And what it's called, the first phase culminates in, it says there at the very bottom of the phase 1 box, complete the initial written reflection. Now, they'll probably do this in class, and basically they're going to answer those 4 questions they got when the project was introduced to them. And they'll do a written reflection in class. And there'll be a guide. There's a document that will guide them on how to do it. And for the teacher, there'll be a guide to evaluate it. Now, for us, the teachers, our job is to look over this written reflection by the students. But the good thing is you're going to be given a document, a guide of exactly what to look for. And you're not going to make the usual corrections, the grammar corrections and spelling things. There's a very precise guide that you're going to get that'll tell you what to do. By the way, this written reflection is not a part of the grade at all. It's just it's for you to see if the students are on a good path towards really completing this project. All right, phase 1. Now, in the project manual, it breaks down these phases day by day, which is really incredible. And the project manual there's a lot to it, I must admit. It's almost a lesson plan, day by day lesson plan of what to do for each day of the project. And again, the College Board is recommending a 15 45-minute periods to spend with students working on this project from January on. And they go day by day. And if you look at the project manual in the CED, it tells you basically what to do for every single day. So it's really helpful. It takes the burden off of you, the teacher, because it tells you, okay, on day 1, here's what you're going to do. And it shows you all the things that might happen, specific activities that you can do with your students day by day for all phases and all the days of this particular project. Now, the first phase, I think they recommend 5 days for it. So in that 5th day, the students do that written reflection. You'll give them some feedback on a feedback document that you'll have. All the documents will wind up being located in AP Classroom, and you can just download them from there. So phase 1 is done. Students, you see the students have gotten a good grip on where they're headed, and now phase 2. Phase 2 is called Investigate and Apply. All right. So you're going to give them this feedback document, having read the written reflection. So they'll know if they're going in the right direction as far as understanding what this project's all about and getting good information to give to whoever they're presenting to on test day. And then there's an action plan, kind of an outline of what they're going to do next to investigate, to take a deeper dive into their topic. And certainly what we want them to do in this phase 2 while they're doing further research and maybe looking at different resources and really understanding what this job is, they're going to be exploring definitely examples and describing the relationship between the cultural 3 Ps, the products, practices, and perspectives, of maybe how studying in a different country is different from studying here. And so that cultural comparison piece, it doesn't completely go away, but it's incorporated in the project during phase two. So phase two is really where they're digging in. They are doing a bit more research. They're certainly going to be annotating, organizing, continuing their research, identifying all the cultural aspects of it. So they're really building now. Now they're building a really good knowledge base. Now, one thing that I do need to tell you about, when they get this project initially, as I told you, they're going to get the 6 to 8 resources. They're going to get the 4 initial reflection questions. But there's also going to be a list of, in French you call them éléments, but the word they're going to use in English are factors. So what are the factors they're going to look at? Let's say the topic is studying abroad. What factors under the 3 Ps would they be looking at? Well, they might be looking at what the educational system is like, or what daily life is like, or what the communication system is like there. How will they communicate with their peers and professors? How are they going to get to school? What is the transportation like? And how important is it in their society to be studying and how far? What is the importance of their educational system? All of the factors are going to be listed for them, and eventually, what they're going to do is, from all the list of factors that they're going to be given under the 3 Ps of culture, they're going to pick out 3, a minimum of 3 of those factors. And when they give that 3-minute oral presentation, we are going to hope that they're going to be able to at least address 3 of the factors that are given to them. And again, they don't have to make them up. They'll see the factors there and they'll pick, you know what, I think I could speak effectively on that one. And they can pick the factors that they really are interested in and that they can really make an effective oral presentation about. So now they're really into it. They've got a lot of information going on, and they're ready to take on phase 3. So in phase 3, they've done their research, and they've got this personalized project reference document. This is an interesting piece. That document is going to be the opportunity for them to take some notes. And on this note sheet, it'll be they'll download it, and there will be the opportunity for them to look at their introduction maybe, but they're limited. They can't write out paragraphs in this thing. They're limited to the amount of words in each section of this personalized project reference. So maybe 10 words for each of these different areas, where an introduction, put 10 words down. They can put a phrase. They don't want sentences. They can put a phrase that will help them. And they can put 4 different, after that, they can put 4 different ideas that might help them. And even a little conclusion piece to put a phrase about that. So this lovely PPR, this personalized project reference sheet, they will complete that. And what you can see, and I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit, on the timeline, you see the date April 30th up there, because they have until April 30th to upload this personalized project reference sheet to College Board. And on test day, when they log in with their information, voila, they get back their personalized project reference sheet, and they can use it to help them give that terrific 3-minute presentation. So they'll be working in phase 3. They'll be working on that 3-minute presentation. They will develop strategies for their quality presentation, all those great transition words and organizational skills. And they will complete a practice presentation with them, themselves, in a small group with their peers. They can do it. They can do it in front of the class and the teachers. And there'll be documents for that. There'll be a feedback document for that, so they can see how they're doing. So now, ready for the last phase. The last phase, phase 4, reflect and grow. Well, phase 4, bottom line, is all about the question and answer section of the exam, the second speaking piece. And during that phase 4, what they're going to do is they're going to anticipate what kind of questions. Now, there will be a sample exam. They will be able to see what kind of questions are going to be asked, so they can predict what kind of questions might come up. And that's going to be a fun thing for them to do, to try and work in groups, work together, and brainstorm different kinds of questions that might come up based on what they're going to see on the sample exam. And then they can practice together and practice those 40-second responses, using all the information that they have gathered from January, February, March, April, into early May. And I think if all goes well, and if the students do this right, they'll be very comfortable answering questions about this project with all the work they have done. And they'll be able to demonstrate a true cultural understanding of the country, of the target language area that they're going to be doing this project in, whether it's studying abroad or having an internship. I think when I think about what the project topic is going to be, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the email, where there was always some kind of a project that we're going to be involved in, whether it was going to a sports camp in Quebec, or going to a language immersion program in Switzerland. It's a real life. We're trying to get a real life exam here, and these projects are hopefully real life projects that involve real research, and in the end, the students will be able to do these 2 speaking tasks after all the work they've done. So if I can give the big picture, bottom line, the project is all about research and comprehension. The College Board, the name College Board, where do they get inspiration for these changes? They come from the colleges. When we changed the exam last time, it was changed because colleges are saying, we're not going to be nitpicking on grammatical things where one accent gives a wrong answer. We want overall proficiency. So the last exam was really changed to be much more a proficiency-based exam, with a lot more of it based on authentic materials. Now we've got all of that, all those authentic materials in place. Now you'll see them all over the exam in the multiple choice section and in the argumentative essay, all the resources there, all the sources there. But the project will be a real life project that a student certainly potentially could be involved in. And that's the big picture of what's going to happen in this new exam and this project process. And this is a very good overview of what's going to happen. I encourage you to look at the CED. The project manual is there. Every one of the 15 days that College Board is recommending, there are lesson plans for you. And you just have to build it into your curriculum. But the good thing is, you're going to have a lot of information in this project manual. And all you have to do is plug in the topic, and they've got activities for every single day, what you should be accomplishing every single one of the 15 days. It's a tremendous help. So I'm trying to reduce the fear factor, because anytime the exam changes, it's stressful. Because we've been working with this exam forever, the current exam, and we're comfortable with it after 14 years. But frankly, 2/3 of this exam is going to be like the previous exam. But it's going to have that streamlined effect to it. And I think in the long run, what we're going to see is an exam that is much more doable, shorter, which is great, with a project that is based on a real life experience, and the reference, the research work they're going to do is going to be very reflective of what college professors are telling us. Our students, most of our AP students wind up taking the university path. And the kind of work they're going to be doing at the university level is going to be research-based. And that's where College Board got the inspiration to make this change. Because, so many of my colleagues at College Board, they are college professors. We work with them all the time. They are part of the reading. They're part of the process, part of the test committee. They're part of everything. So that's why this change came about, because things change in education. We in language education, we have seen amazing changes in all the years in my decades of teaching. It's so different from the way I learned language. When I learned language, it was grammar-based and conjugating every day. That's all we did. And we have come such a long way with all of our ACTFL standards to help us, and the ACTFL readiness standards, that world readiness standards that we can depend upon to guide us. But this is the overview of what this exam is going to be. And I hope I've given you, in a short time, the big picture. And I hope that after having seen it, you have less trepidation and less fear, and you say, you know what, this is very doable. And the students, I think on test day, are going to come in ready to go. I mean, they've been working on this thing for 4 months. They can really produce some amazing speaking pieces. These are the 3-minute piece at the beginning and the 4 questions right after. I think they're going to do really well. The scoring guidelines are available in the CED, and the scoring guidelines are going to be a little bit different.
Go.
One major change from the last exam is a change in the way the exam is going to be scored. The old exam, we had 4 different FRQ pieces, and each one had its own scoring guideline sheet. It was on landscape. There were those 9 lines or so of different, some of them were about content, some were about language, and they had 5 columns going from strong to good to fair to poor, etc. That's gone. There's an analytics scoring system that simplifies things. So when it comes to, and again, these scoring guidelines are available for you. They're public. They're out there. They're in your CED. When it comes to the 3-minute presentation, task execution, did they really do it? Did they really talk about that task of whatever that year's topic was? How'd they do with that? Was it 0, 1, or 2 points? So it's very brief. They can get, scoring it becomes much simpler. You don't have to look at all these different categories and some of it was a 5, some was a 4. No. How many points did they get? Well, if they really did a great job, 2 points. There it is. How about number 2, their cultural understanding? Did they really get into the 3 Ps of culture? And again, there are, I'm just giving you the main topics, but obviously when you see the scoring guidelines, there are detailed explanations of what a 0, a 1, or a 2 looks like. I'm just giving you here the overall picture. But in your CED, you've got all of the facts that you need to score. And do you have to be an expert scorer? Not really. But you need to know what the scoring is, and you need to know what a 2 looks like in cultural understanding. And the students need to know. The students need to see this because they want to know how they're being evaluated and how they can get that 2 for each category. Or you'll see there's 3 and others. The third category is organization. They should be able to present a really well-organized 3-minute presentation. And certainly with that nice personalized project reference sheet in front of them, there's no reason it shouldn't be well organized. But again, there's descriptors to look at to see if it's 0, 1, or 2. Language control. Well, this one, as you can see, 0 to 3 points. So how's their language here? What kind of control are they showing in language as far as being able to express themselves effectively and the level of comprehension that they're putting out? How comprehensible is their presentation? And you'll see the specifics when you look at the scoring guidelines of what they need for language control. And when we take a look at that, that's the most important. Everything else is 2 points. Language control is 3 points. Delivery, and they should do well on delivery. Was it confident? Was it clear? Was it were they hesitant? Were they able to do a smooth presentation? And after 3 or 4 months of practice, I'm hoping it's going to be a 2. So when you add up all the points, there are 11 points total possible on this 3-minute presentation. And frankly, I cannot tell you, and nor can anyone tell you at this point, what an 11 means. Obviously, we want the higher the score we want. Now, in the old scoring guidelines, it was 1 to 5, just like on the test. The final score will be 1 to 5. This is different. And we don't know what the correlation between is a 10 or 11 a 5, is an 8, 9 a 4. That no one knows anything about. This is a first time through for all of us. But obviously, the higher the point total, the better. So that's the score, the quick view of the scoring guideline for the 3-minute oral presentation. Now for the next piece, the Q&A. The Q&A, there's going to be 4 different skills that are going to be looked at. Again, the first one is the same as our last one. Task execution. Did they really get it? Did they understand it? And did they give, when they answered the questions, did they show they really had a comprehension of what was going to take place during this task? Point 2, again, cultural understanding. We don't want to lose that cultural piece from our last exam, that cultural comparison. We want them to be able to see the difference in the cultures that they're going to be interacting with. Number 3, language control. Again, that's the 3 points. That's a little bit more. It's going to tell us about how well they were able to express themselves in the target language, how comprehensible this piece was. And finally, their fluency. Again, it deals with the ability to have a proficiently smooth presentation, understandable by the listener. And if you add up the points here, you see that there's 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 points. At the bottom, you see that total of 9 points available in this particular piece. So when you add up the 2 pieces, I guess there's 11 plus 9 is 20 points. Again, we don't know. There's no indication yet of what a 19 or a 20 is. Is that a 5 or is it 17 to 20? We have no reference points yet. But at least you'll know what it takes to get the best score. And the students, very importantly, will know when they see the details under each of these different scoring points. So I encourage you to get familiar with them, but you don't have to be an expert scorer. No, the AP readers need to be the expert scorers, but it's great for you to know what the scoring guidelines are, and the students really need to know what they are as well. So I think you've seen the big picture. I mean, this is not a deep dive. Today was just the big picture of what the changes are. I spent most of the time on the project, but there's a lot more to the project. I mean, when I do APSIs this summer, we're not going to be spending an hour on the project. We're going to be spending days on the project, developing them, practicing them. It's going to be a different story. You'll really get a deep dive. I encourage you to get involved in an APSI this summer. I'll be doing a few of them. I'll be happy to see you at those APSIs. But I hope what we accomplished today was to give you an overview of the exam, what it looks like, how it's changed. It really has changed. And it's shorter, more streamlined. We flipped the multiple choice from first to second. They'll be speaking right away. It's all digital. It's a new experience. And we're all hoping that these changes are going to be changes for the better.
I mean, they sound amazing, Ed, to be honest. I didn't know a lot going in, a lot of these big details, and I can imagine teachers are feeling a little less anxious, hopefully, after this conversation. You explained it so well, and it seems to make a lot of sense to our modern classrooms and what students, especially that project piece, I think students are going to really like it. I think they're going to really see meaning behind it. And this is what we do in our real lives every day, right? As adults and in college, and we research, we present, we talk about things. It seems so much more connected to like real world kind of application in a lot of ways. I think students are going to be really excited.
Yeah, I think one of my colleagues, when we were discussing it last summer, said, if you're planning a trip to Spain or France, what would you do? Well, you would research website after website about all the different places you would visit. You would learn as much as you can about all the different ways of getting around there and different foods there and what's their schedule like every day. And you would do that kind of research if you were going to take a trip. Well, there's some similarities to this project. You're given this topic, and you're going to research it like just as you would if you were taking a trip. And it's something that's not new. And also a big recommendation, since this research piece is going to be a big part of the AP exam, a lot of us teach, all of us teach more than just AP. I remember I taught 1 year in a block scheduled situation where we had 3 courses each semester, and I taught 6 courses. I taught 6 different preps. I don't know how.
Right.
Most of you teach a couple of 2 or 3 preps.
Yeah.
You teach French 2 or 3 and then French 5. In those courses, in the pre-AP courses, start to have them do some research pieces. Start small and build up. So they're used to doing research and then speaking about them and answering questions about them. Have that wonderful scaffolding piece going through your curriculum. That's a really important piece.
Yeah, I think that's going to be exciting to see that trickle down into some of the other like you said, pre-AP sort of courses. I think that's wonderful. Awesome. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention to teachers as we're kind of wrapping up the conversation? Next steps, anything to look out for? If there's a brand new teacher that's going to teach AP, like where can they find the latest information, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think that you really want to start with the CED, the course and exam description, and that's your guide. That's your written guide to AP, and it has the entire project manual in it. That's a really great starting point. And this project manual is long. There's a lot to it. But read just what I urge you to do is read just of the 15 days, read one day. Just read what happens one day and see what happens. And you'll see a lesson plan. And you'll say, wow, this has been done for me already. I know that here's what I can do during a certain day, or the first day of the project and the second day. That's going to really help teachers. Yeah. I think from being on Facebook groups and looking around and seeing teachers' reactions and trepidations about this, I think when you see this guide, you're going to see that, okay, they're telling me day by day what has to happen. And they're detailed. I'm really impressed at how detailed they were. And again, we're going to give you a lot of documents to help you and the students throughout this process. And then finally, and hopefully sooner the better, as they say on the website, in AP Central, that in the summer they're going to release a full exam for you to look at, which is going to be vitally important because you'll be able to see a project and you'll see with it the 4 reflection questions, and you'll see all of the factors that students can choose from. I can't wait for that to come out. That's
when things will get fun.
We need to see that because again, this is the first time through with an exam is an adventure. And the more information we can get, the better, and the sooner, the better. So we're really hoping to see that ASAP. So I want to see that a full exam and really look at the directions for each part and what a project looks like. Because there's nothing out there in the public. But you'll see when you get the project, it's very logical. It's not super long, which is really great. It's very direct, and it tells you exactly what the student needs to do and look up. So it's going to be very specific, and I hope that teachers see it as a new adventure.
I love it. I love that word adventure too. Comes with some bumpy things, but there's always something good at the end, right?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Ed, for talking with us today. And I'm looking forward to having more conversations with you about this in the future.
All right.
Thank you so much. That was such a valuable conversation with Ed, and I just want to thank him so much for sharing his expertise and giving AP teachers a clearer picture of what's ahead. I know our listeners are walking away feeling more informed, more confident, and just that's what we wanted for today, to be able to help you do that. Before we wrap up completely, I want to share a couple of resources from Wayside Publishing that we think AP Spanish teachers especially will want to know about. First, if you teach AP Spanish language and culture, we are so excited to introduce Apunta al Futuro, Wayside's brand new program designed specifically for the revised AP Spanish language and culture course and exam. This will be launching in 2026-2027 school year, and a sample of the first unit is available now. I just want to let you know that this wasn't just a retrofit of our old materials. This new book was built from the ground up using the new College Board framework. Every unit reflects the updated themes and instructional context. The new course project is fully supported through the entire program, and every source is authentically created by native speakers. If you're looking for a program that was truly designed for the new AP exam, not just aligned to it, visit waysidepublishing.com to learn more about Apunta al Futuro. Second, I want to announce that this summer, Wayside Publishing is going to be offering some online workshops and webinars to help you prepare and plan for the new AP language or languages changes. Whether you want to deepen your understanding of the revised framework, rethink your instructional approach, or just simply feel more ready and confident heading into the new school year, our workshops will be designed with you in mind. So stay tuned and keep checking waysidepublishing.com and social media for dates and registration details. They will be coming soon. Thank you so much for joining us today. Until next time, keep inspiring your students.